Chapter 7. When I would have healed Israel, then the iniquity of Ephraim was discovered, and the wickedness of Samaria, for they commit falsehood. And the thief cometh in, and the troop of robbers spoileth without. And they consider not in their hearts that I remember all their wickedness. Now their own doings have beset them about, they are before my face. They make the king glad with their wickedness, and the princes with their lies. They are all adulterers, as an oven heated by the baker, who ceases from raising after he had kneaded the dough until it be leavened. In the day of our king the princes have made him sick with bottles of wine. He stretched out his hand with scorners. For they have made ready their heart like an oven. While they lie in wait, their baker sleepeth all the night, and in the morning it burneth as a flaming fire. They are all hot as an oven, and have devoured their judges, and their kings are fallen. There is none among them that calleth unto me. Ephraim, he hath mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned. Strangers have devoured his strength, and he knoweth it not. Yea, gray hairs are here, and there upon him, yet he knoweth not. And the pride of Israel testifieth to his face, and they do not return to the Lord their God, nor seek him for all this. Ephraim also is like a silly dove without heart. They call to Egypt, they call to Assyria. When they shall go, I will spread my net upon them. I will bring them down as the fowls of heaven. I will chastise them as their congregation hath heard. Woe unto them, for they have fled from me. Destruction unto them, because they have transgressed against me. Though I have redeemed them, yet they have spoken lies against me. And they have not cried unto me with their heart. When they howled upon their beds, they assembled themselves for corn and wine, and they rebelled against me. Though I have bound and strengthened their arms, yet do they imagine mischief against me. They return, but not to the Most High. They are like a deceitful bow. Their princes shall fall by the sword for the rage of their tongue. This shall be their derision in the land of Egypt. One of the nicest, best analogies, actually, in all of Hosea is the cake not turned. Now, you need to understand how they made cakes in those days. They didn't have ovens to bake it in. What you had was you had a fire with hot coals. And what you did was you took the mixed dough and you laid it down. You formed it and you laid it down on top of the hot coals. And after a period of time, you would turn it over. And in the process, you would have some of the ashes would stick to the outside. You'd have a little bit of charred area, but most of the bottom half of the bread, which was like a piece of cake, like a cake that you might make a birthday cake out of, would be cooked on the bottom half, and you'd flip it over and you'd cook what had been the top half would be now down on the coals, and it would bake. And then you take it off, and you'd have a little bit of charred, but most of it would have been cooked all the way through if it was well done, and you'd have a little bit of char on it, but it was basically cooked. Now, the idea of one being cake not turned would be that you would have just left it sit there, and it would be burned black on the bottom, and the top would be raw. And it was good for nothing. You couldn't do anything with it at that point in time. And that was the problem with Israel. It was a cake not turned. Now, Israel had all kinds of, and this is the northern kingdom here, all kinds of internal strife, and was always, the northern kingdom seemed to be more embroiled in political scandals and political problems with countries all around it than Judah did. And because there were internal squabbles and internal political parties, and they couldn't get things done that they wanted to, they would appeal to either Assyria, the kingdom or the empire to the north of Israel, or to Egypt on the south for support. And so you'd have some people in Israel would be trying to get help from the people, the kingdom of Assyria, and other people trying to get support from the Pharaoh of Egypt. Now you need to understand again that Israel was along the Via Maris, which was the highway, was the major trade route between the empire of Assyria and the empire of Pharaoh, Egypt. And there was a huge amount of trade went back and forth between these countries. It wasn't that the countries were trading, it's that people were buying stuff and moving camel caravans and things like this up and down these roads. And the countries, Solomon for instance, became very rich just taxing this at 3 or 4 places along the road. And because they were going back and forth between Assyria and Egypt, they lost their independence as a country, because Egypt and Assyria, both at some different points, were in charge or were in control of the area, and they wound up paying tribute to both of them. Eventually they were taken over by Assyria. But the problem was that they shouldn't have been involved in these entangling alliances. We're to verses 11 through 13 here. Shouldn't have been involved in these entangling alliances at all. If they had been righteous, they still would have been combined with Judah. If Solomon's son hadn't said, I'll show you who's boss, I'll take more from you than my father did. If these people had all been righteous, they would have been one country. They would have been serving the Lord, and the Lord would have fought their battles for them. And they wouldn't have needed to depend on idol-worshipping heathen countries for power. Though what Hosea was telling them here was, God would have fought your battles for you. You don't want to be tied into heathen nations. You don't want to have alliances with people that depend solely on force. And you're messing it up for yourself. And that's really what was happening. Now the cry for corn and wine, what that basically means is when some people get into trouble, instead of going to the Lord and saying, I'm in trouble, I must have really messed up here, can you help me out? Some people seek solace and joy and pleasure and forgetfulness in the food and the drink, and rather than pray, they're looking for some sort of material comfort. If you want to get out of the problem, you get out of it by seeking the Lord. Now, it says a little further on, it talks about a deceitful bow. It means like an archery bow and arrow. And the deceitful bow has a couple of connotations in Hebrew. It means it's a bow that looks good, looks strong, looks like it will do a good job, but when you go to shoot an arrow, it doesn't really have much strength to it. It can also mean a bow that breaks when you draw back the arrow in order to shoot it. Or it can mean a bow where in the process of trying to string the bow, and you have to bend the bow and you have to move the string so it is secure on the top and the bottom, that it will not let the string hold in either the top or the bottom. And you can be injured if it's this is a good strong bow. You can be injured in the process of that bowstring letting go, and the bow actually going back to its more compact shape, rather than staying out as properly strung. And you can also be killed if the thing breaks when you're shooting it, or it doesn't have the power to actually get the arrows out and to kill the enemy. So there's all kinds of connotations for a deceitful bow. Basically here, the Lord is telling these people that they have not made any really sincere effort to make themselves worth having. And he's using these different analogies of the bow and people crying out for the wine and the corn and all these entangling alliances as indications that their human nature, their desire to do things according to their own wisdom, isn't the thing that's really the problem. The problem of the alliances is simply that they're not being righteous enough. If they were more righteous, God would fight for them. They wouldn't need any of these alliances. If they were personally righteous, they wouldn't be having all these conflicts one with another. The answer is not looking outside of you for the solution. The answer is looking to how you're behaving.